Our guest tonight spent 11 years at BYU as the Director of Basketball Operations, an assistant coach, an associate head coach, and as the assistant head coach, all under Dave Rose. Cougars won 284 games over that period, 284. He's now a broadcaster with the Jazz. Pleasure to welcome to the Wise Guys our friend Tim LaComb. Happy holidays.
Great seeing you guys. What a cool setup.
Why is your seat so low?
Yeah, we can raise you up.
I don't know. I'm cool.
Are you
with
good
it.
at that? You okay
I'm
there?
chill.
Do I feel? You know what? Wait a minute.
My laid back vibe.
I'm going down with Tim. Just a minute.
I got
Oh, there
Am I
you
down with him?
Now, I think, yeah. There
and
we
a couple
go.
of funny things. A full disclosure. I just went to the chiropractor because I woke up with just an absolutely brutal back today.
You didn't say that when I was talking to you.
Well, don't complain. It's game day, and we stay focused. I didn't want you getting, squirrely that I wouldn't show up. But while I was in there, a guy came in right after me, Mr. Noah Waterman.
Really?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So, a karma's a good thing. Vibes are a good thing. He seemed to have a great one. And so I think more threes are in his future. I actually gave him one of these.
It's when he kisses the sky.
Nice.
Not many young guys come in and kiss the sky after a three. Most are surprised it goes in. He's got a whole thing after he makes it.
He's got an absolute whole repertoire.
He's having fun. So Noah and I have this thing going because Noah grew up so I grew up south of Seneca Lake in upstate New York, and Noah's from just on the other side of the lake, north. Now, lakes aren't like they are here. They're big. It's like 52 miles long, Seneca Lake is. So he grew up about an hour north of me. But he went to Finger Lakes Christian Academy. It's tiny, you guys. They play in the smallest classification. He played some AAU ball, but really not that much. So he was this great big kid playing with all of these little kids. And people saw that he had skill, but he wasn't a big-time recruit because he was playing at such a small place. And I think it's a huge diamond in the rough find for BYU in the transfer portal because he's a skilled 6'11" dude. And he's got a baby face, but he's got a little bit of a killer instinct in him, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And
how easy would it have been, or easier would it have been for you and your staff to go to the portal and shop for guys?
It would have been fun. I think back, we definitely shopped, and we shopped as many. Coach used to call it, we would fish, and he would just say, make sure you mind, where you fish, and make sure, that we're getting, the fish that are good for this place, and also that we can actually get involved and get a guy, because that was the thing. So,
but even then, when they transferred, they had to sit out a year, which had to make it a tough sell. Not anymore.
No, again, there was so many things that needed to kind of get pivoted, but at the same time, it changes it all. The NIL is such. I left in 2019. I saw it coming down the pipe, and that's kind of why I was getting ready to. My
piece of that.
I don't know if my shtick would work there. I think we needed a higher level guy. So they
called a car salesman.
They brought on Fieger. So
it's scary no matter who you are. Like, and we interact with all these coaches at a high level, and every one of them won't admit publicly, but they just go, man, we don't know where this is going. Like, this is a little bit scary. And teams are promising kids things that they're not coming through on, and how do you battle that? And when is the NCAA ever going to reel this thing back in? I mean, what's your thought on that? Is NIL something that could ruin the game, or do you think at some point the NCAA and maybe even the government comes in and puts some fences around it so it doesn't just get completely out of hand?
Yeah, and I don't know. I think things happen, and then old guys like us that are used to something in a certain way changes. Maybe sometimes it's for the good. I remember there was a lot of banter about the three-point shot when it came, and is it a gimmick? And really, it's the way the world went. So it's good that the U.S. got involved with everything we did. I'd like to see them standardize everything in basketball. Get all the lines the same. Not have to go out there, and obviously high school you can't. But I'm talking college, pro.
They did finally get shot clocks in Utah high schools this year.
And I've been to a couple games, and it's so great. It's so awesome for strategy.
Right.
You guys have watched way more games than I ever thought of. But is there music playing in my ear?
Yeah, we have a little mood music.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure that wasn't. I looked like I panicked. It was my phone.
It just keeps your vibe going.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Couple observations before we get too deep into things. The O's over here are in big trouble on your board. They're outnumbered. And that's how we felt
by
often.
the way, I didn't drive that. I did draw that.
Someone, I think, broke in and took some of the O's.
No, it's good though. I just was.
But they are in trouble.
Coach, I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know how.
Excellent
You don't want
point.
to be an O on that.
By the way, no one's ever pointed out that the O's were in trouble that's come in here, so you're very observant.
Well, I looked around. I looked around, and then what a cool place
it's
to have.
14-2 X's to O's up there.
Yeah, and oftentimes with referees and everything else, that's how the WCC.
Maybe the O's are the refs.
That's exactly
scheduler. I can say all this stuff.
This
now.
is a pretty cool place. We're Big 12 ready.
So
we
cool.
left Oklahoma and Texas off because we're still not sure how they're trying to.
Yeah, they may be in.
We're not sure what they're doing.
They were supposed to be in for 2 years, but now it looks like it might be a year. We'll see. So we just left.
We need adults at the table, so we've just got these guys.
How cool though! Like, look at those names, and we've had history with a lot of those. Yeah. Obviously TCU. Kansas to me we played in '96 when I was with Rick Majerus at Utah. We played in Kemper against KU, and we actually up 11. It was LaFrance, Pierce, and Vaughn those years. And
Didn't you beat Oklahoma State up at Vivint the year they went to the Final Four? Were you there?
I actually was not with BYU at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was earlier.
That was earlier. We did play Michigan State really, really to a tough game. I think that was 2009.
How about when Baylor came in? They ranked second, and Carlino was coming off his whatever and had a big game. And
we called that game.
Yeah,
didn't we?
yeah, we
called
did.
that game.
That was a magical moment.
They made so many pull up mid range.
They had like 3 NBA guys.
Oh, they were amazing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the length on that. That's when we can talk about Big 12, but that's what you see. Like when we went to the tournament and faced A&M twice and Kansas State, and you're like, wow, they're not only big. They're big, and then if they get in foul trouble, there's a dude right behind them that's just as big.
Yeah.
And that was where that's where we separated,
During your time at BYU, and we're going to run the gamut on things to talk about, with Tim LaComb here tonight on the Wise Guys. So you're at the start, the middle, and the end of Jimmermania. So let's go to the beginning. Jimmer doesn't start a single game his freshman year, 2007, 2008. When you look down there and you see him sitting on your bench, you got any idea what he's capable of?
Oh, you'd knock me over with a feather. I mean, look, the guy was talented, right? But we had a lot of talented Pete guys come through. And, it took a while for him to just kind of get that competitive edge to go out there and play like he was better than everybody else. And I think that's what we were waiting for. And we had, I don't want to just do this because he gives me discounts on cars, but Ben Murdoch was a pretty good point guard.
Yeah.
I mean, he kept the team on the rails.
By the way, you can say anything you want on the Wise Guys.
Yeah,
so
this is
if
why
that
we
gets you a
come
deal,
here.
more power to you.
Whatever.
Ben, did you hear that?
Hey, we can pitch you an NIL deal.
No,
if you need
and
one.
in all honesty, Ben was solid, dude. He was, we had a really unique group that year. We had Ben and we had Sam Burgess on the wing, and Kamard was with us. And we went in that first game. It was my first experience at BYU. We went to Long Beach, and it was Dan Monson's first game at Long Beach, and we beat them by 40.
Oh man!
I think you go back and look, it was 40, 70 to 30 something. It was embarrassingly bad. And Dan's a friend, so he got us back though. A couple of years later, they made us play in the middle of the night. Do you remember that one?
I think so.
I have just vivid memories of all that. And I'm sorry, I'm going to talk.
No,
That's fine. This is the way I talk.
But that team, so his freshman year, really nobody had any idea. You knew he was skilled and he could shoot, but you had talent. Now his sophomore year, he starts 31 games and he averages 15 points. At that point, where he's a 15-point a game guy and he's just a sophomore, do you have a glimpse that he might be Jimmer?
The Jimmer came out in the game against Texas A&M. That's when we all looked at each other in one of the huddles, because we at a point took Ben out and we put Jimmer in, and Jimmer kind of played. And I'm telling you, it was like you saw him start to go separate himself and start to look at guys and say, I'm going to shoot this right in your eye. I don't care if you're bigger than me. I don't care if we just switched. I'm going to dance a little bit, and you're going to, have to get yourself all together. And by that time, I'm going to shoot it. And that's where that was one of the first sparks. But Jimmer Mania came out in full force in Tucson.
Junior year, 32 starts. His average jumps to 22.5. And now things are getting interesting.
Yeah, it was so fun because we went into that place. And I grew up watching those teams. McHale, to me, there's certain reverent places on the planet. I went on my mission to Boston. and I was able to get into both the Garden and Fenway and walk around with nobody around me, and it seriously was spiritual. It was a cool experience. So I felt that way, reverence about McHale, and we went in there, and it was Fiesta Bowl, and they brought us into their banquet, and they sat us down and fed us great, and primed us up just like the old, what am I thinking of old, the Warriors, the fighters.
The Gladiators?
The Gladiators.
Yeah, they fed you like
us
the
up
Gladiators.
good,
They fed
yeah.
you up like the Gladiators.
Sure. Yeah, out there.
And everything they gave us, they knew they were going to take right back from us, along with our dignity and our pride.
Sure.
But we went out there in front of all those people, and we just put it on them, guys. You saw it. It was amazing, and we were hitting shots from everywhere. The ball was flying around, but Jimmer, I kept a couple ticket stubs. I actually found.
What did he get, 49 that night?
He got 37.
37?
37, yeah.
Which got him on Sports Center, for
That's
sure.
right. And I got the ticket, and I got him to sign it. And so my kid actually has that framed in his room. I'm noticing that was something they showed when the stadium expanded, correct? Was that actually a piece that existed, or did you guys have that made?
No, that was existed.
Okay.
We
That's really cool.
So
That's
pretty,
neat.
pretty cool. Huh?
Anyway, I like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. So that's his junior year, and now we're off and running, and people are starting to catch the match like, man, this dude can just shoot it. Like, what is his range? Does he have a range? He can shoot as soon as he crosses half court if he wants to. That's what we're starting to say for him as a junior. Senior year comes around. This is 10-11. He starts all 37 games. He averages 28.6 points a game. He breaks Danny's record. Is the all-time leading scorer at BYU. BYU goes to the Sweet 16. He wins the Wooden Award. I feel like it was a Final Four team if we don't lose Brandon that year. What happened between the freshman year when he was sitting on the bench and none of us even knew who he was to that guy? Like, what had to happen for him to become that? Because what was the most dominating scorer in college basketball?
Well, I think there were a couple of things, and I don't think there's ever just one, right? There's a combination of factors, but I always say this, everybody I talk to, because I had the opportunity to work for Rick Majerus, and I loved it, but it was way different than working for Coach Rose, because I think both guys coached to their strengths. Coach Rose was all about, he was competitive, and he wanted guys to really fight hard and compete, but at the end of the day, he loved to do can make a basket. He was just he would tell me all the time, dude, you can do a lot of things. If you can make a basket, I'm gonna find a way to play you. And so Jimmer fit that bill, and I think he was with the right head coach. I think through the recruiting process, he didn't have a ton of options, but his observations of being able to play for coach and be himself, that was a huge gift. And then I say one of the great basketball minds, a couple of them actually. I had the opportunity on that first staff to be with guys like Dave Rice, who pot shot at Vegas. What the hell were you doing? You should have kept that dude around. Would have been there forever. He's still been there, and they'd still be winning. One of the great people, and I think that's again, the people around down to the equipment manager, Steve Bushman, and our trainers, and the administration, bent over backwards for us. Santiago and Holmo were always, right there with us that year, and especially going through all those hard things. So I think you combine all those factors, and then again, he's him, and he has to be him for that all to be meaningful.
What did you see in his leadership, speaking of Jimmer, when the call came down that Brandon Davies was not going to be with the team going into the Mountain West tournament and was not going to go to the NCAAs? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jimmer went down, and that's the tournament he broke Danny Ainge's scoring record. And then you guys march into the big dance. But there's that moment where this is a Final Four team to this is a team that's just got to somehow find a way to get 12 rebounds and 20 more points because they're losing that.
Yeah, it was, I think this is all, most of this stuff's fairly public, so I'll be, I would like to share some of how that felt, because we did win that game on Saturday. It was the early CBS game. I'm looking over there pinching myself because I think it was Reggie Miller and Kerr were doing the game that day. Mm-hmm. And, we were in the hotel the night before, And the Zags were playing in town as well. They're playing San Diego, and Craig Ela was on the elevator with us. We're going up the elevator, and he goes, "Hey, Coach, can you figure out a way to get me to meet Jimmer?" And I'm thinking, Craig Ela wants to meet Jimmer. It was so surreal. But we go and we win that game, and I'm telling you guys, like, we'd go to Sizzler every Monday, and we'd see every week we'd climb in the standings, and we'd see the stuff start to pile. And so we tried to do our best to deflect. But it got to a point where when that all happened, it was just like lightning hitting. And it was hard. It was hard for everybody. I think Jimmer was more reserved about it all. Yeah. Jimmer just wanted to go play. I think Jackson might have been the dude that pulled everybody together. And I don't want to offend anybody and forget because I'm old. So know that my heart's in the right place. But so it was basically that Saturday and Monday. I'll never forget it. I ran in to grab something before practice, and I turned the corner and I saw B sitting there in his locker with his head in his hands. And my instinct, I'm a people guy, so I'm like, go over and I could tell something heavy, was going on. And so I got coach involved, and the rest is history. So I think back on a lot of that. I'll never forget when we got on the bus after losing to Florida, and, Dave Rice always sat in front of me, and he kind of looked over his shoulder, and he's like, "I know what a Final Four team looks like," and we were one, And so that hurts. But I choose, honestly, the lesson that we learned through all that, and the resilience and what everybody's gone on to do, including B, like, couldn't be more proud. And, if you say you do this for more than just, money and competition, if you really do it for the spirit of it and the people, that's a pretty moving story.
Yeah, it was an amazing year, and it was a team that everybody just knew could score, but maybe underrated a little bit on defense, because the team was pretty solid defensively. Jackson was phenomenal. Tim Miles was at Colorado State back in those days, and we'd do those games. And I remember talking to Tim one time, and he's like, I go, "What are you going to do with Jimmer?" He goes, you can't do anything with Jimmer. Like, he's just going to score. Like, he's going to have 30, and we know he's going to have 30, so we just can't get upset about it. He goes, "But the guy that drives me nuts is Jackson Emery, because it's almost like on cue, he's like, oh, do we need a steal? Well, let me just go down and get one this time down the floor." Like, he said he could literally dial up a defensive play for his team whenever he wanted one. And so that was a pretty special team with a lot of really unique pieces that fit together that made him that good, right?
Yeah, and I think that's, the culmination of it all. You've got the coaching, you've got the support of everybody around, support-wise, but the other guys have to buy in. And Jimmer was definitely the guy that everybody talked about, but Jimmer wasn't, nobody tiptoed around him, Guys played jokes on him and, pulled out a chair from under him and told him to put his shoes on when he came to eat a pregame meal and not wear a tank top. And, so he was part of the Raz. I was with teams too where you don't really mess with the stars, I'm sure, and so, Jimmer that was what made him great, is he was so almost unaware of it that it was almost innocent in a way.
All right, now be honest. Did you ever challenge Jimmer in a game to see how far back he could shoot and make it?
No.
You never just said, "Hey, how about that line over there, just across half court"?
I thought you meant me and him.
Did you ever tell him, "Hey,
restricted arc,
Jimmer,
say, hey, let's see if you can hit one from the Marriott"?
Can you hit one from the restricted arc? And I do remember him. It was a thing the guys would shoot down that M, Marriott all the way down, and that M seemed to be. Which is interesting because it was kind of in proximity to where he crossed Billy White and put him on his keister and then put that three. Like, was that game? Seriously, guys.
So I had both San Diego State
talked
games
about
and
the
Tournament
BYU
Championship
San Diego State game.
My gosh,
that rivalry that year because that San Diego State team was loaded, right? And those games that year, have there been better games in the Marriott Center? I know that Gonzaga win.
That was pretty good.
That was awesome.
Was pretty amazing.
Unfortunately, I was traveling, so I wasn't at that one. But
well, you had your own against the Zags.
But that was that level for. Huge.
Down at Viejas was phenomenal. The one at the Marriott Center, phenomenal. Like that series that year, oh my goodness.
Those Baylor games, even though we lost, the Wake Forest game was one that stands out. That was just electric. I mean, you go back and look at the pros on the floor in that game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, one thing I'm really proud of is we really did. If you go back and look at our schedules, we really tried to play teams and tried to bring teams out here that had never been, and
Right.
so that was fun. That was fun to play.
During all that Jimmermania, which he was like the Beatles, and you guys must have felt like rock stars, especially that season, and especially as he started leading the country in scoring, and he was on SportsCenter every single night. But was there one moment where you looked at Dave or anybody on the staff where you just go, you know what, now this is officially crazy?
Yeah, there's no question that it was TCU. We had just, it was a game. It was TCU was a place that a bunch of fans of BYU that live out in that North Texas area, they can go to games and they can get in there and get good seats. And not many TCU fans went. So it was, the minute we got in there were people in the hotel, all over the hotel lobby, him trying to get autograph hunters, to little kids that just wanted to meet him. And then we got to the game, and it was like the Beatles. Like, we had to have police kind of escort us through the crowd. I never one time felt like a rock star in that regard, because I've actually felt like a rock star for real. And, in the band.
Right.
Yes.
That's your band.
But, Jimmer, that was the one. We were walking into that arena in TCU, and it was absolute mayhem. And Coach and I just looked at it like, what is going on? This is amazing. We did say it was like the Beatles.
When Blaine knows this story, so I brought Andrew, my son. We were calling one of the games, and we got there early, and Jimmer's out taking his shots, and I called him over and I introduced him to Andrew, and then I left, and they talked for just a couple of minutes, and he went on to shoot. And then after the game, we're walking out. We're in the elevator with Elder LaComb Perry of the Quorum of the 12. And we're walking out, and he's talking to us, and finds out that Andrew's about to become a deacon, about to turn 12, and so he kind of stops, and they have a little visit together. And I went ahead to the car because I wanted to get out of the way for that, because I thought that was really, really cool. And then Andrew comes and gets in the car, and we back out. And as a good father, you're sitting there going, okay, this is a moment. How am I going to nail this thing down? And I remember saying to him, I go, well, you've had a big night. And he said, yeah, I can't believe I met Jimmer. And that was it.
That was it.
And I go, well, you also met a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. He goes, oh, yeah, that was good too. And that's where it dawned on me, the power and influence of an athlete on a young person.
Oh, there's no question.
And it was, and Jimmer played that part so well and still does. But I was just thinking about it, just going, to that 11-year-old boy, 35, 40 seconds with Jimmer was out-of-body experience.
Oh, there's no question. I remember, going to BYU games when I was little, and I was one of those kids that would run down and by the tunnel and stick my hand out, try to get Ainge and those guys to five me. So there's no question the influence and the power that they have. It's crazy.
Just want to pass on a note. Thursday morning, 10 o'clock on BYU Sports Nation, Keaton Slovis will be with us.
Oh,
our first
nice.
interview with the quarterback coming. That just passed to me by text. I've got to do that interview. And so that's going to be Thursday at noon Eastern, 10 Mountain on BYU TV. Former BYU basketball assistant coach Tim LaComb's on the Wise Guys tonight. Next week, former running back Ronnie Jenkins and men's volleyball head coach Sean Olmstead will be with us as we roll into the new year. For a lot of folks, Jimmermania was the best of times. But it was also the worst of times when Dave Rose was hospitalized down in Las Vegas after the 2009 season and diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. At that time, you're the director of basketball operations. What were those first moments like when you got the word that your best friend and the head coach is fighting for his life all of a sudden?
Yeah, it was, I'll tell you what, I wasn't ready for that. We actually were on vacation as well. There's certain windows you can all go without having guys on campus, so we take them. And I was actually in upstate New York at Oyster Bay, at a movie theater of all places. And we were out, kind of got through, and we were going to go see a show, and got a call from Cheryl, and she sounded kind of, at first I don't think she understood the severity of it, I think it was more, Dave's got what they thought was maybe a bleeding ulcer, and she was kind of chuckling because he hated, being doted over. And
Right.
so she's like, you can imagine how he's feeling right now. And so really, I went into the movie that night thinking, that he was having some issues, but not to the extent the next call. And that was, the severe one where, hey, he's bleeding major, and they believe it's, probably related to some cancer. Said the pancreas, started doing research, wasn't good. But it was where, honestly, you look at the leadership and the cohesion of a staff. I'd mentioned Dave Rice earlier, but I want to throw John Wardenberg, John was just seriously one of the great coaches I'd ever coached with. He, without fanfare, he came up kind of like me. I call us mutts. We were kind of in and around the game, but we were never anything special that way. But Wardy was phenomenal. And then Nashif, I think Nashif, I still have coaches asking me all the time, because I talk to guys all the time from around the country, and they're like, whatever happened to that dude that was like a wizard, offensive wizard with your out of bounds plays and those types of things. So we had a staff that was just like united, and we weren't sure how to handle it, but we did it with really, really good intentions, and with, two things in mind: the sanctity of, coach's privacy,
right?
But also the understanding that we were in a very public and competitive world. And so how do you manage those two things? And honestly, we just did the best we could.
You guys were doing everything you could. That's a tough time for Coach Rose. Great time for the BYU basketball program during those years. But fans will never understand how sick Coach Rose was at times during his final few seasons as he was coaching at BYU that led up to his retirement. But because you were close with him, how rough was that for him the last few years?
It was rough. His passion for the game was always there, but his energy, he was just not able to do as much, and it drove him crazy, because he's a guy who wants to be the first one there and the last one. I mean, this is how he cut his teeth. It's how he's made his name. But it was, I think what I learned along the way, Coach Rose told me this early on, and it was when we were winning 30 games a year, and I couldn't imagine anybody wanting us to be anywhere but there, as a staff. And he just said, always remember, nothing ends well. In most things, nothing ends well. And if you put your mind to that, it's depressing, but it's true. And the only way you can control how something ends is that you do that. You be the bigger person, you control it. And, I'm not going to lie, there were times, we were on a roll, and we got ripped out of a league we were dominating. And got thrown into a league we knew nothing about, and the number one team in the nation happened to reside there, and it took some of our mojo. Truth of the matter, and so it got a little. It was hard. It was hard to do what we had done through all of it, and tried to do it the right way. Had probably one of the biggest public penalties that people will refer to forever by the honor code, that affected a real team's chance to play in a Final Four. Never been there. So you take all that into account, and you're like, at the end of it, like, I know we haven't been to the tournament in a couple of years, but could we get a little bit, like, we're still finishing never first, second, third in that league.
Yeah.
But the other piece of it is everything has a shelf life. So nothing ends well. Everything has a shelf life. Do the math, right? And that's, I think, why everybody got out ahead of the posse.
What went through your mind on September 10th, 2021, when BYU was formally invited to join the Big 12, knowing that the program was joining the toughest basketball conference in America, and knowing how hard it was to recruit kids to BYU when you were playing in high school gyms in the WCC?
Yeah, well, I instantly was so overjoyed for Tom. I don't want to get emotional, but that dude's a really good dude. And I'll tell you what, he's fought through so much. Things have looked bleak, but he and his team just kept fighting. So, my first call or text went to him, because I do value the people in the battle. It's easy to shoot tweets out from, your job as a custodian and think that they're really impactful, but actually it's people that are in the game, in the arena, that do it. And so it was cool. And then I just instantly got so happy. I mean, I'm thinking, I live a mile from the Marriott Center, and those teams are going to start rolling through. I live a mile from Cougar Stadium, and those teams are going to start rolling through. Like, what a cool time. Yeah. And so I'm thrilled for everybody involved. It's going to be hard, and I think everybody knows that, but I'm thrilled for them.
You get 8 or 9 teams. Like, sometimes they have 9 teams in the NCAA tournament from that league, and on any given week you could have 5 to 8 teams ranked in that league. So it's not going to be easy.
Well, look at the rankings.
How many
just
right
pulled them
now?
up. Houston's number 3, Kansas is number 4, Texas is number 6, Baylor's number 12, TCU's number 18, West Virginia's number 24, and then you have Texas Tech, Kansas State, and Iowa State all getting votes.
So that's 6 ranked teams right now, and three getting votes, which means it's going to be a challenge. But if you can schedule, your pre-conference games the right way and get to a certain number, you don't need to go win 25 games to get to the NCAA tournament. You can go 500 in that league and get to the tournament. So it's a completely different mindset that people are going to have to go into this with. My question, though, is what does this do for recruiting for BYU now that they're in the Big 12? I mean, you had to recruit to the Mountain West Conference. You had to recruit to the WCC in your time on that staff. Do they get more players like Colin Chandler, who's off on a mission and was a big time recruit coming in here?
Yeah, I think those are. I think back at the guys we missed on, in terms of who we actually really wanted, and it was right then when the first one that sticks out to me is Jordan Leverage. Right, Jordan was a guy who was at our place all the time, and we were having a great recruitment with him, and we go to the WCC, and Utah's in the Pac-12, and they're on the other end of that kind of momentum swing. And we missed him. But I would think that guys like that, that have an understanding geographically of what BYU is, and are higher end guys, the Tyler Hawes, I don't think you'll have the sort of arm wrestle maybe we had with the Stanford, because they're on equal footing.
How big of a home court advantage can the Marriott Center be now that these teams are coming in, which if you were going to get some of these big teams, you usually had to play them at Vivint because they didn't want to come to the Marriott Center because a few teams had success in the Marriott Center. But like you mentioned, you got Kansas, Texas, Baylor, Houston, the others coming here every season. What can the fans do? How can the fans be an impact for good in BYU's chances to win some of these games?
Well, I think I've been a couple different places, and when I was at Utah, the first go around, that place was really rocking. It was hard to win. Teams came rolling through there, and it was so hard. We at BYU, we've seen the same thing, and the thing that BYU fans do, they show up. They show up everywhere. A number of places we went and played, and I'm looking at the opponents, looking around at their own arena, saying, "I've never seen this place so full, and why are they wearing BYU stuff?" They couldn't figure out why that was going on. Chris Miles' homecoming game at Portland stands out. I think you guys did that on BYU.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And then you guys had a fireside after the game.
It was like, he lined up and shook hands with the officials and the mascot and the trumpet. It was crazy. So I certainly, BYU fans do what they're supposed to do. They show up. I think what they're going to see is, like I mentioned, an unbelievably cool level of basketball. When you talk about the success the Big 12 has, but it's the coaching. I look up there and I see the coaches of each of those guys. I mean, Bill Self's name just looms large over that thing, and I love Huggins. Huggins. We used to go to the Nike deals at the Final Four every year. They had a big room, and Huggy would hold court, sit there and tell the funniest stories and. But like Scott Drew isn't bad, right? And I think the most underrated coach, and I think the best coach going right now, outside of maybe Izzo, but I think on that same level is Kelvin Sampson
from Houston.
I tell you the story about the year they came in and we fought. We didn't have enough. They big boyed us around the gym most of the night, but it was in the handshake line I was going through. I said, "Coach, man, congrats, man. You're a ball coach. You were a straight ball coach." And he said, No. I got it wrong. I said, "You're a legend." That's what I said. I said, "Coach, you're a legend." He said, I ain't no legend. I'm a ball coach.
Oh.
And I was just like, that is so gangster.
We had time
That
with
is
him
awesome.
In our pregame
Yeah, we
meetings.
did. He was
in
so
first
fun.
class.
He was so fun to
He's
talk
so cool,
to.
man.
So yeah, we've got a good chance to get to know him really well.
Well, look at these arenas that BYU's heading
Yeah,
into,
so-
into this league.
What surprised us is we actually started to look at it. BYU has the largest basketball arena, even when Texas and Oklahoma are still in the league. So BYU
Thanks,
at
DJ.
19,000. Texas has arena seats 16,700. Kansas is 16,300. Texas Tech 15,000. Iowa State 14,300. So BYU's going to be number one in the new league in the size of their home court. At the
What message does that send these teams? These teams are all going to come in favored to win these games initially, but here's this new team in the league that they get to go to for the first time for many, and there's going to be 20,000 fans that have been there all this time, just waiting for them.
Well, I'm sure they'll think they're going to look forward to it because it's it's outside of their footprint. It's in the mountains. They're going to see snow, all that cool stuff. But when they get in there and everybody starts screaming and yelling, and you guys know the mind-numbing craziness that goes on in there. Promotions there. David Almodovar, second to none.
Unbelievable.
Seriously, he and I started the same day at BYU.
Oh yeah,
I exited. They moved me out quicker. He still has a desk, but I think I can walk campus without being asked to leave. So I've got that going.
You got that going for you. See, Blaine and I sometimes don't have that,
Yeah,
but you have.
David is.
I just
he
try
is
to hang with
amazing.
Coach Rose, like I'm with him.
David was just on the show with us a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah.
So we got ready for
Football stadiums, BYU's right there too.
Yeah, and when Texas and Oklahoma go, BYU will have the biggest football stadium, which is surprising. So Texas, 100,000 plus. We've been in that environment a couple of
I've
times.
been there. I was there for the Taters game.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, he quieted that place. He put that whole place in awe when he leaped over their dude and went
That was
into
something.
I got it. So the drummer in my band's a Texas grad. Actually, a couple of the guys, three of the four other guys, but he always like, what happened to that dude that just ran all over
He's
us?
still
Where is
running
he?"
over guys.
Yeah, he's in the league.
Well, Oklahoma seats 86,000, and then BYU at 63,700. So when Oklahoma and Texas go either in the 24 season or 25 season, BYU is going to have the largest stadium in the league. Right after BYU is Iowa State at 61,500 and Texas Tech at just under 61.
And Baylor got a taste of that
Yeah.
in September, coming out and going, okay, once the Jets flew over, it was on.
And the trade-off will be heat v altitude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially early or cold and altitude.
Cold and
At
altitude.
the end of the year.
later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I guess climate.
Climate's on our side this time.
Yeah, for once.
Former BYU basketball assistant coach and jazz broadcaster Tim LaComb on the Wise Guys tonight. Couple more questions for him before we get to our 5 quick questions. And this one came from, we have 2. One from Twitter from earlier in the week as soon as someone found out you were coming on. I'm going to ask you that one next. But Mark Pope's Cougars are 10-5 after the non-conference. Now their final run in this league starts Thursday. It's been an interesting league for BYU over the last 12 years. What do you expect in this finale?
I sure like what I've seen, from the results after the UVU game. I think it looked like everybody kind of just decided to kick everything into the middle, and whatever they needed to win, they took, and everything else they got rid of. You guys had mentioned Rudy. I think Rudy's matured a ton. I think when he got here, he's getting used to a place and being the guy. And what does that mean? I think he's being the guy, but just a different way than maybe he thought. And then I just can't say enough. I texted Mark and Cody and told Nick as well that it's so hard when you get knocked down like that. You're embarrassed. You get knocked down,
Sure.
You're laying on the mat. You don't necessarily want to see anybody, and the hard thing is to confront and deal with it all. And they did the hard thing. I think it's paid off. I think they're getting better this year. I think I think they're going to be way better in league than I thought they'd be when I was watching them, struggle, and then watching teams like Portland put it on teams. I was like, but I have the ultimate confidence they'll be ready to play, and I think Mark's, like you guys have said, I think he's learned a lot about his team.
Well, we've you're gonna ask the sports.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so at local Utah Sports asks, and this is a tough one because he asked this, and I thought, man, I don't know the answer to this. So, he says, "Who is the best player you've ever coached? Jimmer, Keith Van Horn, or Andre Miller, or is it somebody else? You've been around some dudes.
We've been around some guys. Yeah, I never really get into that. I rather talk about, I'd say that of those three guys, I think Jimmer had the most confidence of any guy I've ever seen. I think his confidence reigns supreme. And I think that he is a byproduct of the fact that he dreamed big. He put the time in. But at the end of the day, he just kind of did what he saw himself doing, when he closed his eyes, which is so cool. And I think that's what drove him there. I think Andre was probably the most, he was a coach on the floor. Like that dude. In fact, we were practicing at Covey, one of my first years there. It was actually my second year there because Andre had just come off prop, so he could practice with us. And he comes off a ball screen and he throws it, and I'm standing there next to Majerus, and he just is like, whoa. And he actually said, the only other dude that makes that pass has got AIDS.
Magic Johnson.
Because it was right then. It was,
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a way to say, but he instantly, right, that very first practice is like, that guy's got the innate, magic sauce.
Yeah.
Which was, I'll never forget those words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's ask it a little differently. You got 3 seconds, time for catch and shoot.
Okay.
And you got Van Horn, who's done a lot of that. You got Andre Miller and Jimmer. Who you drawing up to play to have shoot?
I would take Jimmer. And I know Keith made his share. But I just think it's Jimmer.
All right. There you go.
There you
okay.
go.
At local Utah Sports, we asked
That's
the
a great
question.
at Utah. Yeah, we told you we'd ask it. So,
all right, we got 5 quick questions for you, and we sure appreciate you being here with us tonight.
yeah, that's awesome to come up in the rain, which is going to turn to snow. And
Dude, I live like a mile from here. So
That's
I kind of thought you
don't
lived
tell
in
anybody.
South Jordan.
This is a secret.
I thought you lived in Salt Lake for some reason.
Oh, I live a mile from the train station.
Yeah. No, this is a secret place.
This is Springfield. I always wondered where Springfield
Yeah.
was.
People
Let's
always
say.
ask, where is your studio? And we go,
We don't want to have
it's an undisclosed location.
we
for
don't want to have to
safety
get the
reasons.
police involved in
Yeah,
traffic,
so we just don't-
lay
we
it.
don't-
Especially with me being here tonight, that
Yeah,
the
well,
police
that's
might
exact-
show up for different reasons.
Exactly. So 5 questions for Tim, and these are ones you don't even think about. You just answer
Fire
them
'em,
quickly.
okay.
Yeah. So your favorite sports movie?
Hoosiers.
Good choice.
Yeah, we knew that. Favorite singer or band, other than your own band?
I'm going to give it to Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Do you guys do some Van Halen in your
do.
band?
When's your next gig, by the way?
We're going to do something here this summer.
And what's the name of the band?
The Party Hounds.
Party Hounds.
The Party House. Will you do us a favor?
Is it 80s stuff? Is it like Van Halen?
Yeah, we can play anything. We play Nirvana. We play Alice in Chains.
Before your next gig, will you come in here, back on the show, and we'll talk about some stuff and promote the gig?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'll get-
So
that will
are
get
you
guys in
are
for
you
free.
playing rhythm
Party
guitar,
Hounds.
lead guitar? What are you playing?
I sing. I've been the singer. So it's my high school band. We've been together
Are you better
4
than
years.
Kevin Costner's band?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we're actually pretty good.
Good. The Party Hounds.
Singer's the weak
So you're
link.
not playing an instrument. You're the lead.
I
singer.
play guitar
Fortunately,
too,
the singer is
and
the
I will
least
play
important
guitar.
thing in a
Yeah,
band.
Yeah. Okay.
I will play guitar in this one because I'm starting to shred.
I'm gonna have to sit in with you guys. So,
Starting to shred.
Do you play
yeah,
guitar?
guitar, piano, drums. What do you want? I'm in.
Okay.
So
Hey, we could practice in this undisclosed location.
yes, we can. So, okay,
We might need to do that in
But
an
Van
undisclosed
Halen
location.
it is right after Party Hounds, and then favorite breakfast cereal. Come on,
Captain Crunch.
Classic.
nice. And we always tell everybody, we don't tell you before, but anybody that chooses like a healthy cereal without sugar on it, they're just
So they don't get invited.
You know,
No-
because this is
no
a
respect.
sports show. This is
No
just where
respect
honesty
whatsoever.
I
reigns.
can promise you, if I pulled up this hoodie, you can tell I don't eat real
yeah. That's hey.
nutritious like.
I'm a Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries guy. So, your favorite WCC moment?
The win at Gonzaga. We got there that night. The night before, they had their paper out for the next day, and it had 32-0 on it.
Yeah, I remember that. 19,
grabbed it.
2017. You got behind 18-2. Did you still feel that way?
Oh no, I was looking for the escape hatch. Which I was also, that's last game. The saddest part for me is our last game. That San Diego game was such a dud.
Yeah.
And I was looking for oh man, that was hard.
But that night up in Spokane, once you got a couple of buckets to seal it, because it wasn't a Nate Austin block or something. This was you were up, and this is how this was going to go. How nice was it to just stand there in the kennel and let them know that BYU has come and reigned supreme?
It was pretty awesome. The one cool thing we have the two staffs, like there's so much respect and affinity for each other with Mark and his guys. But even he, as we walked to shake hands, just had the sheepish grin on his face, like, you guys, man. It was cool because we couldn't, we didn't make the tournament that year. But we beat them.
Yeah.
And for us, that was, that was something. We were trying to grow it. We were trying to get beating them to be way more common than it ended up being. And I think it just speaks to their excellence. They're really, really, really good.
People don't understand how hard it is to be as good as Mark and that crew is every single year after year. That's not easy.
When you beat them again up there, what year was that with Austin's block? Was that before then?
That was before.
This is the year they were undefeated number one. But which was more satisfying, that one or this one?
The undefeated, beating a number one,
because I think they were like number two in the other game.
Very few, like you look at number ones on the road, and that was really kind of fun to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And our team, I'm telling you, those guys that we had that year were so tough. They fought through a bunch, and it was just neat to see them have kind of a memorable, cool moment that will never be forgot.
Yeah, that was something else. All right.
Okay, and the last one is your favorite Dave Rose coaching moment.
Man, there's so many. But I think, I think I'll keep. I think his ability to just get guys to believe. I think that was his gift.
For example,
I just think you look through the years, we had guys like a guy like Brock Zylstra, who came here as a walk-on, but coach just put him in the game. He liked him. He thought he was physical. He thought he could be a shot maker. He ended up being an experiment after Jimmer and playing the point guard for that one game, which was hard. But I think that, the memory I'll always remember of Brock is winning in that crazy environment, Southern Miss, and him making, it seemed like 100 threes. I don't know how many he made, but I used Brock as an example. I think a guy like Skylar Halford, it didn't matter to coach your status. He just wanted guys that wanted to go out there and play hard. He wanted guys that wanted to win and certainly do that by scoring. He definitely, you got that from Guy.
Yeah.
He definitely wanted to score.
Will there ever be a Jimmer mania moment again at BYU?
Well, I figure what was Ainge? I mean, Ainge was 80, 79, 80.
But that was so much different than Jimmer.
Yeah, it was. But
I mean, I was a kid there watching the game, so they were all important.
But I think it's just fast forward and social media got a hold of it all, and media itself.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe 30 years from now,
there'll be some
every 30.
Maybe every 30 after Jimmer. So what would that be? 45, 44.
Okay.
Look for the next guy.
We're here on this show in 44, and we talk about it.
Have you seen Ezekiel shoot it?
I only have a 10-year contract for this deal, so I don't know if we'll be around.
Who knows if we'll be around?
Who gives you that, Dave?
Yeah, Dave. Yeah. I contract with him. He contracts with me.
We're on 10-year,
10-year retainer.
Retainers.
Yeah.
Hey, give our best to Rachel and your family. Was Christmas good?
Christmas was awesome.
And what's your number one New Year's resolution?
Take more time for myself. I'm constantly like a hamster on the wheel. And I've got to figure out a way to be just a little more.
Now you're kind of in our realm now that you're a jazz broadcaster. Yeah. It's a little different.
Dude, it's not just...
Tell folks what you're doing with that. Because we told them about Party Hounds, but what about the jazz gig?
Okay, so I've got three. I do three. So I have... I'm a general manager of a staffing agency called Spherion. 6 locations up and down the Wasatch Front. Been around 15 years. And so I started in May running that, or being the general manager of that for the owner. So that's nuts. And then on top of that, jazz, play 82 games. You guys know what that's like.
That's crazy.
We're fortunate to only have 13 football and 30 basketball.
Some years I've done, the most I've done is 46 basketball and 17 football.
I can't complain to you.
82 is a lot.
You've done all that in corporate too.
But then we've in addition to that, we're doing during football season a studio show every week, podcast. Yeah. So I think I've probably done 100 events.
That's why we can relate.
Yeah, we can relate to it. We know it's crazy.
Dots on the calendar.
We're not in a band, but we can relate.
You have to be a little nuts to do it. We know that.
No, you got to be a lot of nuts to do it. But
you know what else you have to be?
Passionate about
you have to be willing to be the village idiot, even when you're not. By how social media and everyone reacts to what they choose to hear and what you say are two very different things, and you just have to have a thick skin. There's just no way everyone will like you, and you have to be okay with that. And in our nature, we want everyone to like us.
No, exactly. I felt the same way coaching too. Yeah, it was hard because sometimes you just have to be the bad dude, But the way that I view the world, people to me, at the end of the day, I've been a lot of places, lived a lot of places, worked for a lot of places, but the stuff I remember is all tied to a person. People really are the secret sauce. It's how we tried to be as coaches. I heard last night in the broadcast that Pop's big like that. The people in his life are really, really that important. So I think as long as we keep it there, I chuckled too at stuff that I heard about myself, and that hey, he was only there because he was Dave Rose's best buddy and all this stuff. I didn't even know Dave until I came here. The relationship kind of was made through the fire, and those are the best kind, as you guys know. The guys you fight in the battles with and you go to work with, those ones, like my deal with Nashif and Mike Hall and Dave Rice and Wardy. I don't want to leave anybody out. Popey and Feger, and they need something. We'll all be there, and everybody understands that. There's just an unwritten deal there.
Yeah. Great. Tim LaComb with us. We'll listen to you on the Jazz. This is the Jazz are off tonight. That's why we're glad we could get you in.
Perfect.
On a Tuesday. And best of luck. We look forward to you coming back, and we can, ahead of the next Party Hounds gig.
Yes, let's promote that. That's a good idea.
We'll promote that. And who knows what kind of basketball season we'll be recapping ahead of joining the toughest league in America.
Well, I'm excited for it, and I think they got the right people there. It's fun to watch, and we'll just see how this season ends up for them.
All right. Okay, we'll let you go out into the rain. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tim. Great
Podcast will be up tomorrow. We'll send it to you, and then you can get some more feedback from everybody.